Approval of the minutes as listed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Chair.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Jonathan Delon. Jonathan? Okay, we'll hold that.
De Leon,
De Leon?
or De Leon, either way.
He didn't answer to either of them, so.
No.
Michelle Alexander. Come on, front. Oh. Okay, you're gonna be taking over Barnex?
Yes,
Have you worked there before or anything?
I've been there 11 years.
You've been working there 11 years? So you're familiar with all the rules and regulations and everything you have to do?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Hunt.
Yeah, and Michelle, sometimes our record is unclear. You know the answer. You have 2 OWIs in your history, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, not 3, it's 2, correct?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, and they're old. 18 years ago was the last one. So that's one thing that we're concerned about as a committee. When you have an OWI, at least on 2 occasions in the past, you made some poor choices and you're gonna have to make decisions, well, you know already from your experience as a bartender. But as a licensed bartender, you have to make decisions for your customers to cut them off even. And yeah, given that these, again, the last one being 18 years ago, that's a long time ago.
Anything?
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel.
I'm gonna give you the speech, Michelle.
Okay.
So it's been Barnex for a long time,
Yes.
and I don't think we've ever had them in for anything. Does anybody recall? At least not since I've been on the committee. We expect you as the operator there to set the tone for what your employees do, and we want, don't serve people that are intoxicated. It's against the law. When there's a problem, call the police. When even you think you need to call the police, call the police. We have trained professionals that will be there quickly to help you solve the problem, if it's a fight or disturbance or whatever. And you're familiar with all the rules, you can only buy from licensed wholesalers, you know that. And licensed bartender on the premises all the time, and anybody working has to be either licensed or working under the direction of a licensed bartender. You can't be in the basement sweeping up or something like that, you know that. And closing time is not a suggestion, it's 2 or 2:30, depending on the day of the week, all that stuff, so. I'm gonna move approval.
Second,
Is that subject necessary?
Subject
Gordon?
to-
my second is 2.
Okay. Is there any further discussion here? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Goes to council tonight, but, this is the 1920, so it doesn't take effect until July 1st anyway, so.
So is that when you're taking over, July 1?
Okay,
Well,
thank you
good
very
luck.
much.
Good luck.
Daniel Prindeville? Come on. Okay. Bartender's license, this is a new one. Did you know where you're going to work?
Yeah, I started at Shamrocks. Lincoln. Beloit, actually.
Okay, it was written here, it says on the sheet here, about any offenses that you had, and you put down none. And obviously we go back and we had a couple, of course, it's dismissed, they're all dismissed.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, right, as we look at that, these were dismissed. I don't see an issue.
What does not reported mean?
Not reported, dismissed, I don't know, yeah, it's obviously reported.
Yeah,
Not
For
reported,
first possession
dismissed.
might be not reported.
okay.
Oh, they're 2 separate charges, the first one is not reported, the second one is dismissed.
Okay.
I just repeated what Kale told me. That's, I don't want to show that I knew that.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Now, you've been bartending before, or?
Yeah, I
You know all the
bartended.
rules?
Yeah, I bartended downtown for 2 years. So I'm just getting back started out here.
Yeah, well, if the police come, cooperate with them, if there's any problems at all, call the police,
Absolutely.
okay? Any further discussion?
And Mr. Chair,
Alderman Weigel?
you don't have the license till you, did you get a temporary or?
Yeah, I got the
Okay, okay.
probationary.
And the only reason you were called in is because you have a couple drug offenses that were dismissed, and so that's, I mean, if there would have been a conviction there, we would have had a long conversation about this, but that's why we called you.
Oh,
So,
okay.
All good.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was gonna come up, but thanks for let me know for future. I can at least disclose that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Martha Gabrielle,
Solus Via Senor.
I close?
Yes.
We were both, team up.
Oh, I took the easy one. Okay, this is bartender license also. I still can't get used to these names. And where are you gonna be working?
Sagitario is on 84th Street in front of State Fair.
Okay. And you have been bartending there?
Yes.
Yeah, one of the reasons why you're brought in, once again, we do a police report and get all the
Right.
the things on this, and one of the problems I have with this is operating while suspended. You have a lot of them for a lot of years, including this
Yeah.
year. Which means that you don't really, you got a license, driver's license with rules and regulations, and you obviously don't care. So it kind of bothers us that we're giving you a license with rules and regulations.
Right.
And we got to assume that you're not gonna care about that either.
No, I do. I quit driving because I just couldn't afford the pay any of the tickets, and I wasn't working. So
And it's currently suspended?
yes,
How did you get here tonight?
my daughter drive for me.
We have cameras. Is that what the cameras are going to reflect?
Camera in the parking lot?
The parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not really, but I mean,
Not
she
really?
did not know where it was, the place.
Okay.
So you drove here today? Is that what
Well,
you're saying
just-
now?
Yeah, but just to the parking lot to get in. I'll be here because she don't know where to go. But I'm not driving. Honestly, I don't drive.
But you drove here.
Yeah, I guess if you guys wanna say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to deny.
I second that.
Okay,
That's fine.
based on,
Based on not obeying the law and following the law. And that's something that we require of all of our bartenders, to obey the law, not to choose which laws to obey and which laws to not obey.
okay, is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman,
just a quick comment that you can still work in a bar, you can still do that sort of thing, you would just need to be under the supervision of another bartender. Okay?
That's fine.
Thanks for coming clean with us on that.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried, sorry. Sadwiler Singh? Mr. Singh? Is this the second time?
I thought this is the second time as well, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
Ann
for an
knows,
event.
right.
Now,
It's
He was
sent
over here-
certified mail.
he was here with us, I mean, when
meetings
Gary
ago.
Barzak was here
Barnett was
speaking,
talking for him.
right, and now we called him in twice.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure where we go from here, but I do have some, I'd like to have him here because I have some questions on his floor plan and the way it's laid out. I mean, if you look at it, for liquor, sale
Well-
and storage, it's basically the entire convenience store is listed as being for liquor sales.
All right.
So I don't
Okay.
wanna
I will hold,
approve him without him here.
yeah, well, normally after two, we turn it down, but I will hold it, I will talk to Alderman Barzak on it, see if he's got any insight, 'cause
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Okay, let's move to Benjamin Bishop.
Picture.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay, this is for application for license at T&B.
Right, where's that coming from? So I was wondering if you tell me.
Renewal. One second.
Are you the owner?
This, okay, do we bring him in front of us every year?
No, he's got a recent marijuana conviction. Is what it looks like.
Where do you see that, Marty? I thought I'd seen it somewhere too,
On
but
the
I can't
report
see it
page,
here.
it says
Yeah, it's
possession of THC in
Handwritten on the
Waukesha.
front page.
Yeah, conviction.
I saw it when I was reading it, and I can't find it. There it is.
May 7th, 2018.
Okay.
Are you selling marijuana out of the store?
No, that actually was for a, although it was charged as marijuana, it was CBD.
Okay.
Oh.
And I should say, I was kind of joking when I said, are you selling marijuana out of the
Well,
store?
no, I
I didn't
understand.
really think you were
I
selling
understand,
marijuana. out of the store.
you know, just personally, you know, for clarification, I mean, I've,
Yeah.
47 years old, I've never been charged with an offense before, and unfortunately, that's what it got charged as, and, you know, it's kind of disappointing to me, because I try to lead a clean life, so.
Mr. Chair,
Alden Weigel.
was this personal use, the CBD, or you setting up a, I mean, you're not a retailer somewhere. I see CBD sold everywhere now.
It's sold
apparently.
everywhere now, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I'm just wondering, I guess I've not been following this, if I was possessing CBD right now, not that I am, would I be charged with possession of THC? Has there been change in law in the last year?
Not the
It's a
THC
different,
part, yeah.
it's a different ingredient.
Well, then why was, and it says convicted,
Well, that
possession of
was-
THC.
Yeah, well, that was the way they decided they wouldn't, you know, this goes back to 2015. Since 2015, I believe there's been some clarifications in how they handle those sorts of cases, and, you know, it's what the city.
So
of
our notes
Waukesha
say
did.
Waukesha, was it
Correct.
city or county?
City.
That just seems weird to me then, I guess.
It's pretty weird, because, yeah, like you said, it is everywhere.
And it was not distribution, it was only for your own personal aches and pains or whatever.
It was at our location in Waukesha.
Oh, was at your location in Waukesha? So you have a store in Waukesha, same
Correct.
business, similar business? And, but it wasn't for sale there?
Excuse me?
It wasn't for sale?
Yes,
in
it
your-
was for sale there.
Oh, it was
Oh.
for sale in your store in Waukesha?
Yeah.
And do you sell it in your store in Waukesha now?
No, not at this point.
Well, I see it at like
I know.
Family Video and
You know, I agree. But
I just seem, I mean, I'm not doubting you, it just seems,
it is weird. I can't even explain.
were you just too early? Is that what it
I
was?
too early, correct.
And just to clarify, you're selling CBD oil, or just CBD currently?
Correct.
Okay. Of
In-
course, not marijuana, not
Not
with
that
THC.
one,
Yeah,
no,
no.
no, no.
In
There's no-
Waukesha, are you
there's no psychoactive ingredients in anything we sell, just like where you see at CVS.
Yeah,
other
so
locations.
Family Video sells it.
Exactly,
Are you selling it at your store in West Dallas?
we are.
I'm gonna ask the assistant city attorney, that's not, or the, I'm sorry, not the assistant, the city attorney. That's not something we'd charge anybody with, is it? Is it, Ken?
We haven't thus far. It has to still, whatever the ingredient is, has to register at least some bit of THC.
Okay,
THC, the actual delta 9 THC active ingredient.
the good stuff.
The stuff that impacts you as a
Yeah,
hallucinogenic.
yeah.
It has to be below 0.03 federal limit, correct?
So that, well, from a federal side, but the state could still ban it from the 0.0 side.
Correct.
So this was charged as a state law, so whatever the federal law is wouldn't matter. The major issue though is that it looks like this was filed 2018. I have to look back and see when the state essentially created the law that allowed CBD oil
The
sale.
initial case was in, I believe, September of 2015. Since then, the Attorney General has come out and clarified some of the issues with that.
Did they charge it 3 years later?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna move approval,
Second.
just to keep this going along, okay?
Okay. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, then we have the police reports. Let's see, Robert Anderson, Sallywood. Come up here.
And the bar, excuse me, Chair. The
Bartender.
bartender was also asked to appear.
Is Frank? Yeah, come. Okay, is he on? Oh, he's on my note here. He's on here too, yeah, okay. Well, obviously, we told you about coming in with these compliance checks, and you're one of 3 people that failed them. I'm sorry, one of 4 out of 10. You know, why did you serve the person? All right. Why didn't you get card?
Honestly, I don't have much of an excuse other than it was really busy at the moment, and I was just trying to serve everyone at the time. It's something that I try to keep pride in and on IDing people all the time. So I think it was just a one-time thing, really.
Well, obviously, you should card everybody. You know, if there's any question whatsoever, I would card. And obviously, we're gonna be coming in again, what time, the compliance checks. And what is your policy as far as when a bartender does that?
Well, normally it'd be firing, but Frank has been there since day one, and I just know Frank better than that. I take some fault, not that I should, but I take a little fault because the night that happened, it was a very busy night, and one of our security men that stands at the door wasn't there. I should have went back. I should have helped out. I mean, I can see something. I could have pictured something like that happening in the case that the security guard wasn't there, especially considering how busy it was. But on the contrary, normally when we are that busy, even if there's always 2 bartenders, on this day he didn't have another bartender. He didn't have, which is not an excuse still. But so I just tried to give him some leniency on that, and I tried to explain and I was happy that it actually happened to an undercover and not actually giving alcohol to a minor. So that would have been much worse in my eyes. And so now I have the opportunity to explain the seriousness to all my other employees and also implement other rules, such as not only do you ID the person for drinks, but also for cups as well, in case they're giving it back to someone else to pour a pitcher, etc. So there's been some policies that's been changed, and I've really went over it pretty seriously with everyone there.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything?
Move to place on file.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Wouldn't carry. Keep an eye out.
Thank you, and I apologize.
Melissa Shrewby? Doghouse?
I'm her bartender.
Pardon me?
I'm her bartender.
You're the bartender, but she's not here.
Nope.
Come up front. You're Amanda,
Yep,
and you're the one that served the person.
yep.
How much was the ticket?
$187.
Mr. Chair, it also says no license for the serve.
I do have a license. I've had it since the beginning, since I worked there. I also have 3 licenses
You
in the
didn't-
state of Wisconsin.
You didn't, did they ask for your license, you didn't have it on you, or?
They never asked me for anything.
Oh.
They just walked out of the bar.
Okay.
I wasn't there the day that they came into the bar either.
When they serve, I mean, when you serve the person, they don't immediately
Yeah.
tell you.
The next day they came and I was not at work at the time. All I got was the ticket in the
You
mail.
got a ticket, but our notes show no license. I guess I don't,
I can go get it out of my truck,
For the server or waiting for the bar?
because I hold 3 bartending licenses.
well, other cities don't matter. You have a West Dallas
Yes,
license.
I do.
It's current.
Yes.
And you know why Melissa isn't here?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
our records show that her license was applied for on March 19th. And this incident happened on April 17th.
So at least she had applied.
So I'm not showing that it was actually issued.
I have the actual license on me.
Can you get it
Okay.
for her?
I can run out to the car.
Well, you want to, we'll have her bring it later.
Yeah, what do you want her to show the clerk later
Yeah,
on or
yeah,
Okay.
just,
Yeah.
we're
I have
gonna,
no problem doing
we're
that.
gonna, you heard the importance of serving
Yes,
minors, you
I
understand that?
understand. I've been doing it for 6 years. This is my first offense from it. I understand. It's a serious matter. I wasn't paying attention to it. I thought they looked old enough, but
Yeah,
some people look old enough,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, you always gotta check. Now, does anybody wanna hold this until, and have Melissa come in, or
I don't think, oh,
I think we should
Bar-
have
do
bartender,
you want a bar?
or the, sorry,
The owner?
bartender's here.
Okay.
Was this a single item? I mean, we're gonna,
It was 2 undercover cops. 1 beer was served, 1 had of water.
I,
yeah, I don't feel the need to hold it
No,
for the
no.
owner to come in, Mr. Chair.
no, I don't think so either. I mean, this,
Okay.
if this becomes a habit there,
okay, Alderman May.
I don't think that's quite fair to the others who,
oh,
probably
yeah, I
showed
guess
up
you're
today.
right, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we call it, I mean,
Bring her in.
I don't think you have to come back, but, I think we just hold this
The
and
fact that
call,
she didn't
just,
show up.
just call, Melissa. Okay.
You want her to show up, don't you? I can tell. I have to be
Okay.
here.
Okay,
Okay, so we're gonna hold this?
They
We're
even
gonna
told
hold
me,
this.
because they told me that they got the letter, and they're like, hey, you know you have to show up to this meeting, right?
She got the letter too.
Yeah, correct. It was on my letter saying that she got a letter as
Okay.
well.
But if you could grab your license and show the clerk.
Yes,
we-
sure can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thanks. Hugo,
Hugo Juarez?
Hugo?
No, we
I didn't see him here, that's unusual.
Well, there's only one male in the room and
have 2 women, so it's.
Okay, so,
Either are Hugo.
okay, then, Monique and Sally. While you've been sitting here and you're listening, you know, now how long you had that open?
How long?
I've been open since October,
Yeah, okay, so it hasn't even been a year yet.
right.
And it's funny that if you look at the people that got caught, all of them haven't been that long. I think just one of them had, because Sollywood's only been there, what, a year? A little over
Yeah.
a year.
But Binary is new operators there, and they carded
Right.
the person, they carded the people.
The doghouse here. The doghouse is relatively new
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
We've had her in before and something, so. But, once again, I don't know what happened, you know, but you have to card people. What's your policy on this?
It is card everybody, but.
I've
simple
had my
error.
license over 20-some years and I've never done this before, and they, or the gentleman totally looked old enough, but
Apologies,
it happened, and I know it shouldn't have.
probably because of that.
And so,
Oh, no. that's
Well,
2018.
I
That's right.
don't think, you know, you have to be careful, because they're gonna
Yeah.
be coming
Right.
back again,
Right.
and, you get caught again, well,
So
then,
is there a way to get this in the system that this is
Right.
actually?
Kale,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
is, for not the bar, for the bartender, I meant,
Who's getting the
Same as
ticket these
earlier.
days?
no,
Got the question?
I'm asking a question.
Sorry.
Is that the,
I wanna know.
is that enough to take away a license?
By state law, you need 2 offenses in a 12-month period.
2 offenses, okay. So I,
That's okay.
To take away the license from the server or or the establishment?
Both. So if you're gonna revoke a license, it needs to be 2 instances within a 12-month period.
even if it's 2 different servers at one bar?
So, depends what you're doing. So the licensee is vicariously liable for the action of the server. So the licensee, even if the licensee is not present on the premises when it happens, can be cited for it, and can be charged with it and convicted. If the licensee is convicted twice in a 12-month period, then that would make them eligible for suspension or revocation, depending on what the council is doing. So, in this case, it looks like it was the one. Have there been other incidents like this in the last 12 months so
No,
far?
no, they just started in October, so.
Okay, then, yeah, another one would have to occur before any suspension would be possible for that violation.
Okay, you had a question?
Who's getting the ticket nowadays? Both of them or one of them?
I was told by the officer that my bartender would get it, and she hasn't received it. But then to find out the girl ahead of us received it. So, not
Yeah.
sure.
The police department could issue to both. I'm not sure what their current policy is on who they cite.
I just recall in the past that somebody from the Tavern League had reached out to me and was querying me about well, that's, you're punishing two people for one crime, and the ticket should go to one or the other, but not both, and there was some sort of state ruling on that. And it was implied to me that we were out of compliance on that, by sometimes writing two tickets.
My experience is that most cities issue tickets to both,
Oh, okay.
and that the state law is two separate laws. One says no person may serve an underage person. Another law, separate law, says no licensee may serve an underage person. So there'd be no point for that second law. There'd be no point for the second law if it was intended to only apply to the person who physically passed it across.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion to place in file?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chair,
Give it real, Alderman May.
so your warning would be between now and April of next year, make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yes, absolutely.
Between now and forever, make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, between now
Yeah,
and
that
forever,
doesn't
just
mean like-
definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
April 29th, no, yeah.
I think, yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead, finish.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you know, a good policy in general is just card everyone at all times.
Right.
If you know the person, it's just gonna happen.
It's like pick and save, they card,
Right.
even card Marty. So, okay, anything
I
further?
don't think Marty found that funny.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you. Have a good night.
All these people didn't come in. We were calling up,
Are they coming at the next recess?
I don't know.
They were supposed to appear at this meeting, if you wanna hold on to them and see if they show up at recess, maybe.
If they show up recess, we can still take them, can we, or
It's on the council.
they're on this agenda?
It looks like it's on the council
Right.
agenda as well. Yes. So
Okay.
yes.
Because maybe they misunderstood, and, oh, we have that. Okay, we'll just carry them over until next time, so.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
All right.
Food or water or something. Could be so. In the beer trade, they're talking about putting CBD and craft beers.
Her ticket price go down. If they realize she's. Maybe.
Yeah, that was a headache too for a while. It still is. For a while, that was bad. Oh, yeah.
Seems to me that these retailers are they're planning on marijuana legalization, and so they wanna get their foot in the door with CBD.
Put their foot in the door with who? We're not gonna say in the relicense. You know, what the state does, we're not gonna say, oh, you've been licensed.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call the meeting of the Common Council to order. I will ask our clerk to call the roll to
Alderman Reich.
determine our quorum.
Sorry. Alderman Ranky.
She said here. She said here. I can vouch for that.
All right, I believe it.
We're off to a great start.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Barzak.
Here.
Shaplesky. Here. Haas.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
And May.
Here.
That's 10 present.
We have a quorum. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led this evening by Alderperson Ranky.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item D on our agendas, we have 6 items for public hearing this evening. I'll ask our clerk to read public hearing number 1.
Ordinance to amend subsection 12.06 definitions and subsection 12.10 general provisions of the revised municipal code relative to motor vehicle and small engine repair in residential districts.
Mr. Stevel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In our zoning code, we unfortunately define garage very broadly, which encompasses a commercial garage. So theoretically, you could not change your oil or a tire in your own garage. That was pointed out to us, and one of the aldermen rightfully said, let's get that changed. And that's the purpose of this public hearing this evening, is to allow the do-it-yourselfer that we have lots of in West Dallas, glad to have that, be able to do work in their garage and still respect the neighborhood. Obviously, if we're repairing one car at a time, work should be closed inside a closed garage. Vehicles, there's no painting of it, and it's going to be during the regular part of the day and not into the evening. The Plan Commission has reviewed this recommendation, has recommended approval, and we've received no objections to date. If there are additional questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stevel. Are there any questions or comments from the members of the Common Council?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Barzak.
Over the past few decades, this has been brought up numerous times. And the answer always in the past has been, yeah, we know it goes on, and nobody, unless there's a complaint. The issue I have is you allow this, and now you got the guy that works at Sam's Auto Repair, and he comes home at night and he works on Bill's car and Tom's car and Joe's car, and they pay him cash. And he just says, well, I'm just working on my car. I don't have a facility here. I'm just working on my car. Or you have the guy that's completely rebuilds his motor inside of his garage, which we actually have on, I think it's 109th and Washington. If you go into their garage, it is literally a body or a repair shop. Now they keep the garage door closed, and so they kind of hide it a little bit, but they're still, constantly, literally rebuilding cars. What control are we going to have now that we open this up, and now everybody can do it? In the past, it was pretty simple. You can't do that. You cannot work on your car. And now all of a sudden, we're going to allow it, and you give that inch, they're going to take a foot and a half. What controls do we have to stop the guy he's not technically in business, but he's working on cars for cash for other people, maybe putting brakes on, maybe putting muffler on, or doing whatever to a particular vehicle? What safeguards do we have now? In the past, we had a big safeguard. Can't do it. What do we have now?
I think we're going to not criminalize the do-it-yourselfer, so we want to be able to get somebody to change their oil in their car. On this particular case that you're talking about, if somebody is operating a commercial garage, that will be inspected, and to determine if it is, and then they'll be ordered to cease and desist.
Yeah, but I don't think you understood. I'm just working on my car. They're paying him cash, so he works full-time for somebody else. And he's doing this on the side, and he's taking cash and working on other cars. And there's plenty of people that are doing that in the city. What safeguard do we have to prove that? What can we, or is there none? Or should the ordinance per se, you can only do these certain functions? You can change your oil and rotate your tires, and that's it. something like that, because what else would you do?
That's a public policy issue. We took the broader perspective to allow the homeowner to do what they want to do on their car. If you wanted to limit it even further, you certainly could. But what we've got now is a very broad definition to let the homeowner do whatever they want with their vehicle in the car, except for painting it.
Okay, so the
And they have to
answer
have the
is
garage
we
door
have no
closed.
safeguard. We don't really have anything.
And what?
We really don't have anything. We have no safeguard. It's just, go ahead and work on your cars now.
Today, nobody can change their oil in their car.
Correct. Understood that. I understand that.
And we're trying to not make everybody a criminal. We're a community of do-it-yourselfers. We want to be able to promote that.
In the 31 years that I have been an alderperson, not one person has ever been issued a citation, or I don't even think told that they cannot continue to change their own oil, even though it technically is illegal. However, if somebody was working on their cars on a regular basis, we had the safeguard that we could go in there and say, you can't work on automobiles. You've had 10 cars in here in the last 2 weeks, and you've been constantly working on them. Hey, they're my cars. I can do this now. You can't touch me.
If that were to be the case, we would consult with the police department and have them send in an undercover
Okay.
agent to do that. That's the best one we can do.
All right, thank you.
Heard of
Thank you.
mine?
Any other,
Heard of mine?
Alderman Rote?
What control or safeguards do we have for the guys that are working on their cars just in the driveways? We got 4 and 5 lined up and they're working, not even a garage.
The way this ordinance is drafted, they have to do it inside the garage with the garage door closed.
Heard of mine?
Alderman Chapletsky?
John, similar to Alderman Barzak's, but I have where there's a guy that has all the equipment, all the latest equipment to fix cars, so all his buddies bring his cars there. He's not doing it as a business. He's just doing it with friends. They're hanging out, so they're there every single weekend. And in the first district, 15 feet away, you can have a house with someone's bedroom and creating a lot of noise. We've looked, like you said, we've looked at this many times. And all it takes is one person to ruin everything. And so we have to work something in there, and I don't really have the answer, to protect the person that lives 15 feet away from this garage that's going to have the noise in it. Because even with the garage door in, it makes a lot of noise.
Everybody has a cell phone these days with a camera or video camera, and they just video that car of his buddy being driven into the garage and the garage door closing. That would be enough to launch an investigation.
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Stefanski?
What if we made it as a requirement that the vehicle has to be registered by either the homeowner or a family member of the homeowner? Say you're working on your kid's car who doesn't live with you anymore. That would eliminate that somewhat.
That's that's something you could propose as an amendment. That certainly drives home to what we're trying to accomplish.
Right. Okay.
Any other
Mr.
questions
Mayor.
from the council? Alderman
Mr.
Vitale?
Mayor. You know, throughout the years, I mean, I did experience, like on the east end, like Alderman Chaprusky state, that we've been experiencing actually about 3, 4, 5 cases where, you know, people have done repairs, and one of them is around Mineral, like a 58, 59. But anyway, the neighbors complain about it. So by our zoning ordinance, actually, you know, they were in violation because they were doing auto repair. So in that case, I think this particular one, you know, they had to kind of minimize or not doing any outside repair, or I don't get if it's friends or whatever it was. So they stopped doing it. So to me, it's very hard really to monitor, I mean, to control until you get a complaint from the neighbors. But I'm not going to penalize, say, a homeowner or somebody that's got a garage and they say, well, I changed my own oil or changed my own tires, you know. To me, I think in a way it's good to put something like that on the books, you know, to create an ordinance. But I'm not going to really go farther because every time there's a complaint, many cases I did experience that it's been taken care. At least I'm familiar with one around 61st, 62nd, and Hayes, you know, I mean, there are about 4 or 5 that I've been experiencing, people doing their own, themselves, but then they got friends or whatever customer, they patronize his garage, to get repairs. So really, I'm fine the way it is. So I think we still can control that. If it's a complaint come through, I think Billy especially been doing a hell of a job about that, so.
Mayor Devine?
So I have.
Alderman Lysick.
I just want to remind the council, questions are fine. This is not the time to debate an issue. This is a time for us to listen to the public. This is a public hearing. Let's listen to them. The time to debate the pros and cons of the issue is in committee.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, are there any members of the audience that have questions or comments on public hearing number 1? Okay, seeing none, we will close our first public hearing. I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 2.
Resolution relative to determination of special use permit for a proposed community-based residential facility to replace the existing office building located at 8410 West Cleveland Avenue.
Mr. Stevel? I think you skipped number 2, Steve.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Retract.
Ordinance to amend subsection 12.10 to F accessory buildings of the revised municipal code relative to height of accessory buildings, garages.
Mr. Stevel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Prior to 2014, the maximum height was 15 feet. And 2014, it was changed to be 18 feet. There was a number of Board of Appeals where they were granting variances to 18 feet or slightly above that. And so that's why the purpose of this hearing is to re-examine that issue. And I think this picture shows the good example of, here's an 18-foot tall garage. The biggest issue is this 10-foot or more, the sidewalls that really makes it rather unique. It makes it stand out higher and taller and not fit as well into the neighborhood as we would like. However, there's some ways we'd like to suggest that we could also still continue to do that, but still respond to the basic problem. And that is that we could still possibly allow 18-foot garages. The ordinance before you tonight is to change it from 15 feet, to delete it from 18 feet and change it to 15 feet. I might note that. 16 feet. 15 feet used to be the ordinance in 2015.
John, you said 15, you mean 16, that you're changing it to 16.
Yeah, we changed it to 16. That's what the proposed ordinance says. It used to be 1515, and it was changed to 18, and now we're changing it to 16. Here's another good example of the differences between the garages and how they change the appearance of a neighborhood. And this is another example of how much taller that they look. However, it's not so much the height of the building as it is the sidewalls, and I'll talk about that in a minute here. Here's that same building from the other side, for the non-alley, say for the street side, and that seems to conform well with the building, and what we want to focus on is the house itself, or the home itself. Here's an example of where it doesn't, and there's also an elevation change which makes it even more pronounced that this house here has this type of a garage. And that makes it, this is what really I think has captured our attention as to why we might want to do something different, either the proposal before you or something slightly different. Here's an example of an 18-foot tall garage that doesn't look that out of character to the house. And that's because this wall height is 8 feet to 9 feet, and somewhere in that area keeps it more consistent with the whole neighborhood. Another modification, if you would like to consider, is keeping the garage square footage the same. And you could keep this at 18 feet, but not to exceed the height of the principal building or the principal dwelling. And the wall height not to exceed 10 feet. That may help respond to allowing this to happen, but not allowing, that to happen. There's two alternatives that you may want to consider. The Plan Commission has reviewed this recommendation, has recommended approval of the initial ordinance as proposed. If you have additional questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions from the Common Council on this item?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel?
John, it seems to me that if it's about wall height, that it is very important to have that item 4 there, because all those garages you showed had pitched roofs, but someone could conceivably build a 16-foot garage with a flat roof, and then all the walls around it would all be 16 feet also. So I think it's going to be very important, if this is what we're going to go with, that wall height be emphasized. If we're trying to keep the whole mass of the building from being so big, people will just switch to building flat roof garages.
Yes, that's exactly the case.
Thanks.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other questions from the council? See none, are there any questions from the members of the audience on public hearing number 2? Okay, seeing none, we will close our second public hearing and now move on to our third item.
Resolution relative to determination of special use permit for a proposed community-based residential facility to replace the existing office building located at 8410 West Cleveland Avenue.
Thank you. Mr. Stiebel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The zone is C2, and to allow this kind of a facility, a 3-story, 48-bed facility, would require a public hearing, and that's the purpose of this meeting tonight, is to have that public hearing. They would be 24/7 advanced care, dementia, Alzheimer's, terminally ill, senior kind of, or any kind of occupancy. The property owner is Midwest Commercial, but they'll be the operating entity is going to be Platinum Communities. Now, Platinum Communities has 6 other facilities in the Milwaukee area, and from what we've understood, have been run quite well. The existing building is 17,000 square feet, is vacant, excuse me, and there's no landscaping. There's existing cross access, which actually will remain, and we'll talk about that in just a second here. The exterior of the building is going to be brick and manufactured wood with a wraparound deck on the south and east side, and windows on a 4-sided facility. The 24,000 square feet has 12 parking stalls, and it's going to have substantial landscaping, and actually they don't own the adjacent parking lot, but they're going to be paving that over here because that's part of their arrangement. With a porta-mache to go and drop folks off, and nice landscape areas even on top of the roof deck there in a couple of locations. They'll also have a fenced-in patio and grassed area on the west side. There'll be an opening here for light through the windows into the basement, and we'll get to that in a second here. The proposed CBRF is going to have a half of a basement, and that's where we have this light well in here for the dining area, kitchen, laundry. And the first floor is more of a general area with nursing station, lounge, and reception areas. The other ones will be composed of 1 and 2 bedrooms. Some of the 1 bedrooms will actually have a shared bathroom with the occupant on the other side, so they can lock their own door and have a shared bath. The alderman requested that we send notices to a large area of the neighborhood. Usually it's 200 feet is required by law. I think the alderman asked for 600 and 430, so we had a very large area, people that were notified of this public hearing. The Plan Commission we had a neighborhood meeting on April 9th. The Plan Commission has recommended approval, and we have no objections to date. If you have any additional questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions from the Common Council on public hearing number 3?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Barzak?
John, my understanding is that this is not a tax exempt property.
100% taxable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Took the wind out of Alderman Chaplesky's sails. Alderman
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel?
And part 2 of that question is, do we know about how many jobs this is creating? John, do you have an idea of?
I'm just looking for that answer. I'll have it for you at recess.
Okay.
But to answer your question, the current value is $640,000. Pays $19,000 a year in property taxes, After this is completed, we project it to pay $120,000 in property taxes.
Do any of
I think
the,
there is at least, as I recall, at least 10 people during the day, and 8 to 10 on the other 2 shifts.
any other questions from the council?
Mayor Devine,
Alderperson Ranky?
John, will this facility have a elevator?
Yes,
Okay, that's what I wanted to
I
know.
believe 2 elevators.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, are there any comments or questions from the members of the audience on public hearing number 3? We ask that you come up to the podium and the microphone and please give us your name and address for our official record.
Lynn Mix, 8317 West Cleveland. I am kitty corner from this facility. 8 to 10 people per shift for 48 units.
That's my guess. I'm not positive. I'll find out at recess.
Okay.
But they're going to be adequately staffed, whatever that staffing level is. We'll find out shortly.
Okay, now, I guess I'm not sure, CBRF, I guess I thought that meant nursing home, but not.
A community-based residential facility, so it could be any of these, any of the above.
It was kind of proposed originally that this was going to be assisted living. Now, all of a sudden, I saw in the paper a few weeks ago, the Journal had the drawing, which I approved the building, talked about the dementia care, and then terminally ill, are they referring to hospice care or whatever? I guess my main concern is the parking spaces. I can't believe 48 parking spaces is going to be enough for employees and visitors.
We discussed that with the operators of the facility. As they noted, they operated 6 others. They usually only have, fortunately or unfortunately, about 6 people a day that come to visit.
Mhm.
And so the rest of them is for staffing.
Okay. I wish we could talk them into buying that whole block with the other buildings and the old filling station and garage. That would be a big improvement if they were able to do that. That's kind of an eyesore along that part, but I
Depending
do
on how
think it's,
successful this is, we'll see what happens.
that would be wonderful if we could have them do that, but I think it will be fine. I don't think there's a worry about the dementia care people wandering off and being busy streets. So I guess we're good with it as neighbors. I don't see any of my neighbors here having a concern, and I think it will be an improvement over having that building that's been vacant for many, many years. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Any other comments or questions from the members of the audience? Okay, seeing none. You're not in the audience.
I know. But we-
Alderman Barzak.
John, her concern about leaving the facility, et cetera, my understanding is that they have a state-of-the-art system that when they walk up to the door, an alarm literally goes off before they can even open the door. Do you?
That is
I
correct.
recall
They have,
that being at the
they're
Plan
using the
Commission.
most state-of-the-art system to ensure that the dementia aren't out there by themselves, harming themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. If there are no other questions on public hearing number 3, we will move on our agendas. And we are going to take public hearings 4 and 5 together.
Number 4 is resolution relative to determination of special use permit for a proposed beer garden to be located at 6800 West Beecher Street. And number 5 is 2019-2020 Class B Tavern License, application number 2678 of West Alice Cheese and Sausage Shop, LLC, Mark S. Lutz, agent, doing business as West Alice Coffee and Beer Garden, for the premises located at 6800 West Beecher Street. It's a new non-existing location in regard to exceeding the quota.
Thank you. Mr. Stiebel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think every community wishes they had more people like Mark Lutz that's taken onto a neighborhood, West Alice Cheese and Sausage, for example, and buying other properties and renovated them like Wild Roots. and soon under construction, a meat facility. And now another garage is being taken out of, that's going to be repaired or rechanged into a nice place to dine from both locations and to have some craft beer and coffee. So it's going to be a very interesting facility. I think the hours of operation tell us a lot about the project. Open Tuesday through Saturday till 9 p.m. and on Sunday till 4 p.m. So they're not so much of a tavern as they are as an interesting gathering place. Because the property is zoned C2, it requires a public hearing for this type of use. And that's the purpose of this meeting this evening. It's going to be about a 1,300 facility. The existing building will stay. They'll just have some significant modifications, and they'll about double the size in their outdoor patio area. They'll have a fire pit, outdoor seating, plantings, overhead pergoda, and they'll have 9 parking stalls. Hopefully this is operational not during the winter soon. Well, I think we're done with that, but this is a rendering of what it'll look like, and it's really a very attractive feature to the neighborhood, particularly going from a car garage to something of this quality and character. On the indoor, they'll have 27 seats. On the outdoor, they'll have 44. And with the pergola, as noted here on the front of the building, the garage doors are replaced with glass garage doors so that in the summertime they can open. And even these windows here will be a half a garage door that can also be open. There'll be significant with siding on the building and other improvements such as painting the roof line. The Plan Commission has reviewed this, has recommended approval, and if you have additional questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions from the Common Council on these 2 items?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel.
I have some questions, maybe they're more for the city attorney. And since we've taken these 2 items together, one is about the licensing for this location. It's my understanding the state of Wisconsin tells municipalities that we cannot force Class B tavern licenses to close before 2 a.m. or 2:30 on the weekends. Here, we're talking about giving, I mean, this will be operated, it's my understanding, as an extension of West Allis Cheese and Sausage. But for a variety of reasons, it will be a separate business with a separate license. So this will essentially be conceivably a freestanding bar. And here we're agreeing, he's agreeing to closing at a certain time, 9 p.m. or earlier. But the state of Wisconsin tells us, and I think in the past our previous city attorney had said that it's out of our hands, that if he wanted to keep at least the indoor portion open till 2 a.m. or 2:30, and I'm not saying Mark would, and I don't believe he would, but none of us are going to be here forever, and someday the business is going to change hands, and I just, those would be my concerns, is that we're not approving something that might morph into something else, and I see the city attorney is here, so.
Alderman Weigel, yes, there's a state law that prohibits the city from imposing limitations on the 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. closing times that the state law currently has. Your concerns, though, would be only if the current licensee would change hours of operation. If a future licensee would come in requesting that same location, then the council at that point in time would review that applicant specifically as a new applicant and could deny it if that person's not going to propose the same hours. So the level of trust you have in the current licensee would always be the same here. The current licensee would have to be the one who would increase the hours.
So you're saying that if we approved it as it's presented as today, and 2 years from now, the current applicant was still there, but he said, you know what, there's soccer games that are on in Ireland at whatever, or games the Packers are playing in Japan, and I want to stay open till 1 o'clock in the morning, he could?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that would be my concern. And he could even allow outdoor service? Or is the outdoor service area treated differently than the indoor service area? I guess I wouldn't have as big a problem if it was just the indoor service, but if that patio was open till 1 o'clock in the morning with soccer fans or whatever, you know, it's a global world now. I guess I'm just expressing my concern here. I want to make sure that if we have a way to address it, that we do.
I'd have to look at chapter 9 of the code to ensure that the exterior premises would have similar type of limitation. However, if you're gonna grant a license where the premises is exterior, I'm not sure if there's a way to limit the actual service of alcohol. There'd be a 10 o'clock noise limitation on the exterior area. So that would be one thing, but as far as service of alcohol, I don't know of a way to limit the timing, whether it's interior or exterior.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Barzak.
John, my understanding is that we're approving the special use, which the special use is what is warranting those hours.
That is correct.
Liquor has nothing to do with it, but the special use, to have this approved, has to apply within those hours.
That's correct. This is just for the special use.
Correct.
But we're taking items 4 and 5 together.
Taking item 5, which
Correct.
is the license.
Correct, but the special use is saying that those are the hours. The license, fine, you grant the license, but the special use is controlling those hours. So number 4 is controlling the hours. Whatever happens with 5 happens, but 4 is controlling those hours of when he can operate.
That's true.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council on items 4 and 5? No questions. We will go to the audience. Is there anybody in the crowd with questions or comments on items 4 or 5? Okay, we will close our 4th and 5th public hearing, and I will ask our clerk to read the 6th and final public hearing.
Resolution relative to determination of special use permit for Holiday Inn Express, a proposed hotel to be located at 10201 West Lincoln Avenue.
Mr. Stevel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 102nd Lincoln block, there's an older industrial building, originally Weir Steel corporate headquarters, turned into a multi-story building, multi-tenant office building. It's 4 stories. I don't think there's anybody on the 2nd and 4th floor. I think there's probably only 3 tenants left in the building, and they're soon to be vacated. And that's why the problem was probably could be sold at a more reasonable price to be torn down, is that it already fulfilled its useful life expectancy and was declining appreciably, and it only would have gotten to look worse. So we're kind of glad, we're delighted actually that somebody's looking at revitalizing this property. The Lincoln Hospitality Group is going to be demolishing the old Weir Steel building, and I'll show you in a moment here, and putting another hotel here, and then once this is demolished, it'll be for a future medical clinic or some other reuse. The property is zoned C4, and a hotel is a special use, and that's the purpose of the public here tonight, is to consider the special use for a Holiday Inn Express, as noted here. The proposed hotel is 107 rooms. It'll be located at the back of that lot. And this lot will initially be put into grass until they reach out and find another tenant. And if they don't have that by, I think, 2021, then they're going to be landscaping it extensively as per the existing site plan. The building will be 4 stories, about 60,000 square feet, as I mentioned, 107 rooms. It'll have a very small conference room, probably about 400 square feet. It's not a big purpose of this room to have, this hotel to have banquets. It will have an indoor pool, this pool, and this is the back of the building. There'll be outdoor seating in the back of the building. This is the front, the north side of the building. As I noted, there's the pool. Here's the conference room, so you can get a feel for that. It's going to be a small facility along with the other hotel rooms. The developer has made a very interesting and very good compromises with the city to get larger windows on the ground floor to help accentuate the sense of arrival. Aluminum composite panel on the building over here. Composite panel, ivory colored in this area here, and then a composite stone veneer on the rest of the building, which will, I think, make a very delightful looking addition to the community. The primary access is going to be on 102nd Street. These two will be closed, these driveways, and there'll be a driveway in here. There'll also be another driveway in this area here. I know there was some concern, particularly from the city engineer, that somebody would try to come into this area here and make a turn, run into here, and get into here. But I think that's certainly a difficult process to achieve. We can't outrule stupidity, but we think that this should probably work. The developer has put a lot of access to the facility to get to the street, a lot of driveways, concrete paths, and this area here will be held in reserve until they get another development, and then that development will probably come in for a public hearing as well. The Planning Commission has reviewed this proposal, has recommended approval, and we've received 3 letters of support, excuse me, and 1 objection from to the east across the freeway about a traffic concern. If you have additional questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions from the Common Council on this item?
Mayor Devine.
Alderperson Ranky.
John, will this particular hotel or express hotel have a restaurant or a breakfast area?
No.
No, nothing, no kitchen area at all?
I do want to mention that the developer has also requested some public assistance. We're evaluating that. It has to meet the but-for test, but for that public assistance, this would not go forward. And so we're still evaluating that, so we don't know if they'll need a TIF or not, but we'll look into that.
Along with that, would they have a bar area?
No.
No. Just a simple.
They'll have the typical kitchenette for morning coffee and rolls and donuts, that sort of thing, but not a restaurant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Seeing none from the council, are there any questions from the members of the audience? Okay, seeing none, we will close our 6th and final public hearing. We will move to page 2 on our agenda, citizen participation. This is the chance for residents to address the council during this 30-minute period. We ask again that you give us your name and address and that you limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. The council cannot take action on topics raised by the speakers and cannot discuss topics, but we can listen. Does anybody wish to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay, we will close citizen participation. We will move to item F, which will list our standing committees' room numbers. They will be meeting during recess. They are listed on your agendas on page 2. Item G is the mayor's report. I just have 2 quick things. Excuse me. Last month, we did a proclamation to celebrate the 100th birthday of Liberace, and somebody from the foundation took a copy of that out to Las Vegas for the celebration, and I just wanted to share with everybody a response or a thank you note that we received from the foundation to Mayor Dan Devine in the city of West Allis. We are all most appreciative of the wonderful honor you bestowed upon the late Liberace, a proud native of West Allis, to help commemorate his 100th birthday. Lee was very proud of being born in West Allis, even though at a young age he and his family moved next door to West Milwaukee. He was never afraid to correct the media when they would mention he was born in Milwaukee, saying, "Actually, I was born in West Allis and lived there for a period of my life." As you probably know, Liberace went on to fame and fortune and was one of the most successful and highest paid entertainers in the world. However, he never forgot his hometown and its people. He often said, "Don't be misled by this flamboyant exterior. Underneath, I remain the same simple boy from Wisconsin." He would be most appreciative of all the honors this past week from West Allis. From the Friends of Liberace Foundation, we thank each and every one of you people in the great city of West Allis. The only other thing I wanted to mention in my mayor's report was, once again, just thanking the multitudes of people that pulled off a la carte festival in our downtown this past Sunday. I think some of the other alder people may talk about this as well, but they were estimating 13,000 attendees. We had lucky, beautiful weather again with the rain we've been having this spring. It was nice to have a dry day. And I want to thank the city crews that allowed this to happen with the street closures. I want to thank the police department, the fire department, IT, everybody from the various departments that presented and was available for questions and comments. It was really another, excuse me, puberty's a wonderful thing. I think it was really a shining star for the city. I think we did really well, and really proud event for the city. That concludes the mayor's report. Do we have any reports from the alderpersons?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Barzak?
Too, would like to talk a little bit about a la carte. We had a tent, and we had two performers in there, Eric Diamond and Marcel. My understanding is they have played in that tent now for 12 years. And then I also want to thank the beer tenders that helped out with myself and my son, Eric Barzak, my cousin, Todd Barzak, good friend of mine, Al Maurman, and Jeff Sikich, who was on the school board. We raised in our tent sales of exceed of $5,300. And we had 3 tip jars out, and in the tip jars, which we do not keep a single penny, every penny of the profits, every penny of the tip jars goes right back to the parade and the bid district. And there was over $700 in the tip jars for a total of over $6,000 that we brought in. And we worked our butts off. I also want to thank Tom Lysick, who brought us brisket sandwiches because we could not get out of that tent and we were starving, and he saved our lives. So we appreciate that, Tom. Thank you very much. And I also want to thank, of course, Diane and Emily Eineker and Don Falk. I mean, these people, I don't know how they got any sleep the days before, and I'm not sure they're still sleeping. But a phenomenal event that they put on. My understanding, it was the highest attended a la carte. And there's no numbers because you don't come in, but I guess it was just based on, you couldn't walk down Greenfield Avenue. So I think that right there kind of said it all. So again, I want to thank the bartenders that volunteered all their time, and it was an extremely successful event. And just again, proud to be West Dallas. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other reports from the alderpersons? I do want to just back up and mention one thing I forgot. I know he was on our agenda tonight, but Mark Lutz, who does the Dine and Dash as well as the Curds and Kegs event at the Farmers Market, also pledged to give half of those proceeds to the West Dallas Dog Park. So he had dropped off a check of over $5,000 last week to go towards the dog park project. So I want to thank him as well, since we're talking donations and contributions. Thank you. If there are no other alderpersons' reports,
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of the minutes of the Common Council regular meeting of May 21st, 2019.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Alderman May. Are there any adjustments from the minutes of last meeting? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We have nothing under item J and nothing under item K.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
There is a motion with a second by Alderperson Reinke. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We are in recess.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. First thing, I don't see him here. I don't see Jonathan DeLeon. I don't see him also. So we're gonna hold those. Mr. Singh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, come on.
And which number?
57.
57, thank you.
Okay, well, we had you scheduled at 6 o'clock. Well, we held all of ours, I said, you're coming. Okay, we looked at everything and there was some questions on it. Only me, what?
Yeah, I got a quick question for you. On the site plan description for the building, right here it says for liquor sale and storage. But the way it's written, it looks like you're proposing the entire area here to be for liquor sale and storage.
This is a little bit, right now, this area, we have the walk-in cooler.
Mm-hmm.
We have a grocery aisle right here, and there's a counter right here. And we are not changing anything for the grocery. We're just adding the liquor and over here.
Okay.
It's the same place. This is the hall. There's a counter right now here.
It will be only this much liquor.
And then a couple of the cooler, we're gonna use the same walk-in cooler we're gonna use for the.
So that's actually a better plan.
Yes.
I prefer we approve that plan.
No, we had only this liquor right here.
We are adding basically
and
what we
behind
have.
the cashier, that's it.
Yeah, I see it there. Liquor?
Yeah.
Liquor,
Rest
beer.
everything, yeah.
See,
The
this
beer
is-
only 2 cooler, rest everything the soda cooler.
Okay.
Because we are adding. the
Basically,
liquor, not
what
the
we have, we
liquor.
just add, yes.
Sure. I'm just saying, I think that's a better site description, and if we're gonna approve a plan, we should do it with this plan.
Do I see that?
Asking about that, but this is the one.
It shows for liquor sale and storage, but it doesn't say where. And it says liquor, beer, liquor. This is much more descriptive, which I think we should.
That's
Do you
this
know where
space.
Geo
Yeah.
This is
upside down.
Must have been part of this.
Okay.
So I think we should approve it with this plan.
Your district.
Are we,
That's actually,
Oh,
it's actually Kevin's.
Oh,
are
it's
we?
my district, yeah, and the clerk was just telling me how we can't approve this tonight because we still have to we have to go through the procedure of going over quota.
Oh,
Have we started that, right?
Mr. Chair, no, they need to go over quota, so at tonight's, you're just reviewing this, and then we'll make the go-ahead if you're okay with it to proceed with public hearing. In addition, they will need to, because of the rule with, special use permits and Class A establishments, and that's what they're applying for is a Class A, they will need to get a special use permit as well.
I think they already have a special, they probably have to amend the existing one.
If they do already, we'll verify that with, inspection department, but I was asking
We have special
Steve here.
use for gas station. I don't know, it's the same thing or not.
Did you get one recently?
No, long time ago.
8 to 10 years ago, probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they don't have one, I'll verify with planning department.
Okay.
We'll have to. So it's, we're not denying it, we're not approving it, what we're saying is, in order for you to get that liquor license, we have to notice it in the newspaper and stuff and have a public hearing
Okay.
before we would approve it.
Maybe I misunderstood him. My understanding was that you can approve it subject to that, I thought. Maybe I misunderstood
We gotta
him.
go over quota. Because it's going over quota, we have to have the special use, we have to have the hearing before we.
Am I
Correct.
understand or maybe I
it's locked
misunderstood you? They can still approve it subject to that hearing or how?
Well, right now, they're just saying, we're good with this, and we're gonna go ahead with the public hearing, so in a month from today, we'll have a public hearing, then they'll finally grant it.
Oh, okay, so but you can approve it today.
that's the soonest it's gonna happen anyways.
Yeah.
What? Oh,
That'll
yeah.
be the soonest it's gonna happen anyway.
Okay,
So in concept, we're approved, we like it, we're saying, let's approve it to go to a public hearing.
okay,
That's what we're approving tonight, to go to a
Okay.
public hearing. After the public hearing is where we'd actually vote on this, after we hear from the public,
Oh,
if they
okay.
have any concerns. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you, sir.
Alderman Rowe.
and this is the gas station, correct?
yes.
Yes.
And what was there before?
Gas station.
No, I meant license-wise. It wasn't a Class A all the time, was it?
No,
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 So you're going, well, what was it? I guess it was a beer only?
Class
No.
B, I think, in the restaurant for.
That's a separate, that's.
Yes, the rest,
Yep.
So you're going for a whole new flat out
Yes,
class A?
yes.
Okay.
this will be, Mr. Chair,
Oh, wait.
I believe this will be our second in a gas station. Actually, in a gas station.
You're right. There's that Citgo off
Yeah,
of, Beloit.
Lincoln and,
Lincoln.
and National.
But that's beer only,
I believe that's a beer only.
beer only. This is,
This is a full A, this
yeah,
is
that's what I
liquor.
said, that's why I kept saying A, it's a
Yeah.
full-blown liquor store.
You know, I go to communities all over Wisconsin, they have liquor stores and gas stations.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, yes.
I want to point out one thing, which I think we all realize, that this is in error, this page here is
Yeah.
Giovanni's Banquet Hall,
Yeah,
and so what we're giving our tacit approval to proceed to does not include this.
Our paperwork got messed up. We got
Yeah,
we got
I
something
saw
for
that
something
too.
called Giovanni's. Either of you are named
Yeah.
Giovanni, I'm gonna guess.
Actually, I think, we did, I came from city of Milwaukee, one of my tenants, so I think, we did,
Oh,
That's how it got there.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry about
their
that.
accent, so, no, not a problem.
So,
So,
Mr. Chair, I would
Go ahead.
move we go forward with a public hearing
okay,
to
but
go
that's,
to exceed quota.
And I'll second.
okay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, one more comment. If you could just take your application and replace this page with this page. And maybe date it somewhere, put a date or something.
Should I give to now, or?
I can, if you're ready with
Sure.
that, I
Like,
can take it.
maybe- maybe
Put
put
the
a date
address?
down there.
Actually, put it with the jacket.
Oh, okay. Why don't we begin, I'm just giving the jacket back.
Maybe
to
make a
them.
That's
copy
true.
for
There's
yourself
not
too.
voting on this, so I will put it in the jacket. Here, I'm just gonna put it in here.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Oh, got my pen. Thanks.
Grounds for denial.
Okay, then we have, item number 43.
I move approval.
Is this approval subject to necessary requirements?
It is, yes, thank you.
Second.
Vote second. Is there any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Number 44, for Piggly Wiggly, new agent,
Move approval,
Second.
subject to necessary requirements.
subject to necessary requirements.
Is there any further discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Another new agent letter for CVS Pharmacy.
Move approval, subject to necessary requirements.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. And then we have a new agent letter for Uncle Fester's.
Move approval, subject to necessary requirements.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And then renewal application. This application pending submittal, what is
Mr. Chair,
this for Applebee's?
we kept this separate because they initially submitted an application for a new establishment to take over the Applebee's. But then we got a notice from them that their sales being backed off. So we had to go forward with the current license, in case their sale goes through and we need to rush the application. So that's why we elected to keep it separate. So it's really nothing going on other than there's potentially a sale that might come
Right.
through at that point, at
And
some
we'll
point.
take it, so this is just the renewal.
Move approval.
Second.
It's subject to requirements, correct?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then we have for Waggles, this is a tavern license renewal.
Move approval, subject to necessary requirements.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any
Abstain.
abstains?
I was informed that's the word.
Abstain, that's the word that's the proper word for you to use. Okay,
I'll practice my abstaining.
then we have a communication, for withdrawal of application to transfer license. From, let's see, 1568 71st to 9127 Lincoln. Withdrawal.
Mr. Chair, Stateford Liquor had applied for and was granted a transfer of
Right.
their license. However, the sale fell through, so they're not going forward with the transfer. So we've asked them to just submit a letter to withdraw that request.
No.
Move to place on file?
So, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
so they're gonna remain on 81st Street?
As far as we know.
Okay.
Let's place on file.
But we approved it already. Mr. Chair, we approved it already. Don't we have to take action greater than just placing this on file?
Actually, the last one was a placing on file. It was a communication too. I'm gonna look to correct how that's
Okay.
done in the future, but the last one was also communication.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have the motion by Alderman May.
Second, if there wasn't
Second by-
one.
Okay, second by Haas, place on file. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I guess I understand what's going on. I just that I had spoken to a neighbor a month ago, and, well, first of all, she said, you have to do something about the liquor store next door. And I said, well, I think they're leaving. 'Cause she'd expressed to me concerns about all the problems there, but I don't think we've had them here for anything. No, I don't think so. And I guess so now that they're staying, I think I'll reach out to the PD, see if there really are any actually problems there, because I thought they were going over to your district to be a problem.
There was 92nd and,
Yeah.
well, not the problems that we'll keep in your district, but, no, that's the corner.
No, yeah, it used to be, yeah,
Right, but now
White Hen
he's
Pantry.
He's applied for a business permit also now, the owner of the mall, so I'm sure
Oh,
the liquor license isn't far behind, or a request for one.
oh, okay. Well, good to see something happen.
So that's how
there.
they'll do it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then, item number 50 on these are various licenses. Now I can move for an amendment
We're
on
skipping
this?
50?
Is this 51?
51, correct.
Yes, I'd like to hold Citgo Sunrise. They're not even close to anything that they said that they were for their site landscaping or anything like that.
The fence is up.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's right here on,
Actually, Can we get Dale, because he was gonna be here for this.
They're there for the Beyond Vision, but I can see if he can come.
There it is.
Yeah, it's a Class B renewal.
I was pointing to you and you weren't looking.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. The fence is up.
What's that?
The fence is up. The new,
It's not done.
but the new fence is up.
They're not even close to doing anything that was required by the
Okay.
plan commission, so I'd like to bring them in and talk to them.
Mr. Chair, can we just hold this off for the attorney to be possibly present? You'll skip this one for now, because I did talk to him about that.
Don't have that many left.
I did talk to the attorney, I know.
About
Rebecca
what?
went to see if he's available. Well, planning called me because of your concern.
Right.
And I talked to the attorney, and he just wanted to express his attorney speak about, about this particular item. But that,
Planning just walked in the door.
so if he's available, if not, we'll can hold it for the next meeting.
Okay. We're on such a roll.
Maybe it's stuck.
I know.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes it gets stuck together.
I don't think we act on 50.
No, it was here.
No.
50 was Kip's in.
Right, you know that.
That looks like it might be a special event permit.
So we're gonna hold 51 for now?
Yeah, we're gonna hold 51. Let's go back to 50.
Skip it for now.
Special event permit for Kipson.
Move approval?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
We were supposed to take more time on that.
Well, we got one more here. Then we have number 63. This is sausage shop for the coffee and beer garden.
Move approval.
Second,
Now, was that the public hearing to exceed quota or just for the special use? Oh, it's always for the license.
those are the two items, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this would be the vote to okay going over quota for the license. So, do I have a motion, subject to necessary requirements?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
I moved it already.
Yeah, we already
And I
had a motion.
seconded it.
Yeah, you already had a motion.
I might as well just go home. I'll wait for the attorney to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, May made the motion and Haas seconded.
Yeah.
Haas, never heard a guy. Okay, is there any further discussion on this item?
Mr. Chair?
All right.
I'm gonna go back to the hours thing. I guess I'd like to have a conversation with the city attorney. I understand we have a noise ordinance about 10 PM. And I know the applicant is, and I believe him, actually, when Mark actually talked to me about it, he said 10 PM, but I see the paperwork says 9 PM?
I just rounded up.
Well,
The restaurants across the way closes between 9 and 10, depending
yeah,
on.
so I would go to 10 PM. I think,
10's fine.
I think the application says 10 PM. Or just, excuse me, said 9 PM. The special use said 9 the public hearing said 9 PM. But
10 would be fine.
well, I'd be okay with 10 also. I just wanted to reflect what you actually want. And then I wanted to discuss, like I said, whether, and like I said, I believe you, but you could have a car accident on the way home.
Please don't.
Please don't. We like you.
Well, no, it's a little bit bigger than that, because as Alden Barzak pointed out, it's in the special use at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
So, because it's in the special use at 9 o'clock, if he's to raise it to 10, he's in violation of the special use.
So we have to change the special.
We have to
use
change the
10,
special
which we can
use.
do on the floor if we have to.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean,
What the special use indicates, if it's.
I guess the
I know
que-
the public hearing said 9, I think, but.
Yeah.
Let me check the actual resolution to see if it says something like 10 or 11 or.
yeah, I'm just,
I mean,
Just
Mark, I don't know if you heard my comments about if there's Packers are playing in Tokyo and some night you want to be open till midnight or something, you know, I know that's
I
not
know
your
it's
business.
only my word, but I can guarantee you I'm
yeah,
not gonna be able
yeah.
to pass.
No, and I do believe you. It's
Okay,
just,
My day starts at 7 AM,
yeah,
so
yeah,
10 is beyond my
yeah.
control.
We're probably past your bedtime already. Yeah, but, and I wanted to talk to the city attorney about that because my understanding is we cannot limit hours he can stay open even through a special use under state law. The state law says the state of Wisconsin wanted uniform closing times everywhere in the state of Wisconsin so that we wouldn't have this hopping from community to community that used to go on. So that municipalities cannot be more restrictive than 2 AM and 2:30 AM, even through a special use. He said other things we can limit through special use. And then I have a question between the hours outside and the hours inside. Because the interior seating is 45?
No,
Outside is
21.
44, and I think
outside was 44, inside's like
21.
I call it 30.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere in there.
You know, which
Round
is,
it up.
we have bars smaller than that already. you
Yeah.
know.
Before us tonight.
Yeah, so I guess I have some questions for the city attorney on this. You know.
okay, but that's not pertinent to the license. This license here.
Technically.
I think it kinda is. I think it's-
Technically, it's on the special use permit, not on the license. Cause if you're saying the license, the state says no matter what, whatever hours, it's
Yeah.
really a special use question, then
Right.
if that can.
No, it's not a
restrict or
special
not.
use question.
Well, you're saying we can't restrict it through the license, but the question is, can we restrict it through the special use
Yeah,
permit, right?
but the city attorney told me we can't. So.
Yeah.
And I support this
Oh, I see
use,
what
I
you're-
support
see
this
what you're saying.
project,
Yeah.
but again, I just, you know,
But going back, what we have in front of us right now is the license.
and once we grant the license, he can stay open until 2 or 2:30. That's what my understanding is, and that's my question for the city attorney.
So you're saying if we don't grant the license, well, we can't put in a license for him to close at 9.
No, we can't. We have a noise ordinance that
anything,
says
it'd be
no
for the
noise
special
outside
use.
after 10 PM. And if the neighbor can live with that, then it's,
Just move approval, Marty.
You guys already moved approval.
That's right, we did.
Yeah, I think either way, it's a
just-
moot point. It's either we approve it or we don't, right, at this point? Because if
Yeah.
the law says that, either way.
Yeah, it's just, I
Yeah.
don't know, no matter what the city attorney
It's
says.
good to know. It's good to know for the future.
Yeah,
I'd like to
I
know
just
the
want
answer.
everybody to know, you know, and I believe Mark. So,
No matter what the city attorney says, though, is that, you know.
well, I just want to
we
make sure I
can't do
understand
anything.
the city attorney correctly also, as far as the inside, outside.
So he's coming back for that item 51. Maybe we could approve this now and then
He's
ask
not
him.
able to
Yeah.
come back for item 51. He's in the middle of
That's
the
good.
Beyond Vision unless you want to wait
I
until.
thought-
I
I
asked
thought
them
they
to
were
hold
waiting
We
it
asked them
for
to hold
us.
Beyond Vision for
They're
us.
holding it for us.
Apparently they're not.
Nobody tells you nothing.
What's that?
Can you have them hold Beyond Vision for us?
Hold beyond vision.
Run down
And then-
there.
And then send Kayla?
Yeah,
Sure.
we have dibs on Kale.
All of you guys stop everything for us. That's what we want you to tell them.
Well, we asked to be in that discussion. for
Yes.
Beyond Vision,
Right.
so I'm a little bit disappointed.
They strictly said that their committee's more important than yours, Alderman.
Fair enough.
Well, this is also the members of the Administration and Finance Committee also, although this is the License and Health
And we're
Committee
first
right
in
now.
the alphabet.
So you just, so you're requesting that we hold.
No, I want to know I want to hear Kale tell us that when we approve the license, that even with the special use, I guess I just want that on the record. I don't know. I don't know what I want. I mean,
I see what you're saying.
Well, if you don't know,
So,
we don't
And I
know
get what
either.
Marty's saying too.
yeah, Mr. Chair, what I would suggest is let's approve it, and when he comes up for number 51, we're still technically in session. We can ask him that question.
okay.
Is that okay? Because then we can keep moving.
Well, that's it.
Well, that's it. We have nothing else to, are we almost done?
Yeah, we could,
51.
Yeah.
we could recess until
Yeah.
after.
Start with A and F.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on item number 63 on your agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
We'll recess until after the conclusion of A and F.
All right.
But we're still gonna come back to.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, the Administration and Finance Committee will come to order. Item 8 is a joint referral, a resolution authorizing Director of Public Works Center and Professional Services Agreement with City Water.
Mr. Chair,
Please, go ahead, Alderman Rowe.
what is this? I looked at it, just please explain.
Yeah. Oh, Kayla, you're
Assume
out
how
of
we
breath.
need the public
We
works.
got you running around all over. Thank you, Kayla.
Currently, we have a vacancy in our pumping station, and so we wanted to contract out with this firm to help, to assist us with that vacancy.
What do you mean, assist us with a vacancy? To,
To-
Chairman, I'm sorry.
To provide the services, to do the duties that we would normally have had done by an
In-house
employee.
person.
Yes.
Okay, not to hire a
What does
person.
that
No.
involve?
Okay.
I don't,
What specific job is this? Do we know?
What does the assistant pumping station operator do?
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, that's.
Sits at Reservoir Park.
I believe there's something involving testing the water and ensuring the pressure, but I did not review the job description
Okay.
in advance of this meeting. However, I could ask the Public Works Director if
Did he
you
go
would like.
home?
No, I believe he's in the other meeting too.
Oh, well, let's take him
why are
to.
we even here?
We'll wait for him. No.
Okay.
I move approval.
We have a
Second.
motion from Alderman May and a second from Alderman Weigel. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just an after-the-fact question. How are we paying for this? Through having a vacancy in
Yeah.
I
position?
would
Unpaid payroll.
have to read the resolution. It's probably at the bottom of the whereas clauses, where it says the account number it's coming from.
Account number?
175.06.
Source of supply and pumping expenses, professional services, other.
It's professional
we-
services account.
And it will be covered by staffing vacancies.
There you go.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I see our public works director is here. Now, may I ask him that question?
Dave, what's this pumping
Assistant.
Assistant pumping station operator.
And
What does
City
that
Water
person do?
LLC, what are they gonna do for, what's City Water LLC gonna do for us also?
So they're
Both
going to
questions.
review the procedures of the water pumping operator. We currently have 2 positions at that location. We're looking to minimize those positions, looking at the overall operations of the pumping station. So if there's anything that we can minimize.
2 to 1?
To run, to operate during off hours, that the regular pumping operator wouldn't be there, so. Yeah.
I think it'd be better.
All right, real good. So, yeah, we acted on item 8, we've approved it. Thank you, Dave, appreciate
Chair,
that.
I'll move we recess back to
There we go. Yes, we have a
complete
motion.
item
Is
51.
there a second?
Second, okay,
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye. And
Okay.
so, yeah, we're,
Item 51, it's all the license, and we were going to amend it to take the Sunrise Station out of there.
There's a gas
As per-
station that
As per Mr. Rowe.
Alderman Road has concerns about. It's under the Class B renewal applications. It's called Citgo Sunrise.
That's fine.
And, like, Alderman Rowe, you want to tell them the reason?
Oh, just they haven't really done anything that they said they were gonna, they've done very minimal of what they said they're gonna do for their
Special use.
liquor license.
Site
in
landscaping.
that building. And our experience, or at least mine is, and I'm sure everybody else on this committee is, once they have something, those big trees that everybody showed and everything, they never show up. So I just wanna make sure most of this is done prior to us issuing a 2-year license to this gentleman. I'm 1 year, I'm sorry.
It'd be a July to end of June license, it'd be a 12-month license.
Okay.
You can pull the item if you'd like to consider it
That's what I'd
separately,
like to do.
that's not a problem. And if you want just to either shoot me an email or give me a call, I can explain the standards of what they would be, depending on an alcohol license or a special use. Because if you're not complying with the special use permit, there's a process in place to potentially revoke that permit to ensure that they comply with those provisions. That's totally separate though from the alcohol license process. It's a very different standard for revoking or not renewing an alcohol license as opposed to a special use permit.
But we're still gonna pull it out right now.
You still can, they would be able to operate not only while this is pending, but even if after July 1, if this committee hadn't made a decision on the license, they'd be able to operate under their old license because there needs to be due process to take away that property right.
And we could bring him in to a regular meeting and say, where you at on this?
You certainly could. I would
Okay.
recommend doing that though under the special use permit.
Okay,
So that wouldn't come in front of this committee.
Safety and development likely.
okay. Well, let's pull it out of there for tonight.
I move we approve
Okay.
item 51 with the exception of.
1 second. So, even though what he wants done, and that they haven't done yet, has nothing to do with the liquor license.
Correct. The only reason you can suspend, revoke, or not renew an alcohol license would be for any violation that's listed under 125.12 of the statute. It's a very specific part of the law that says you have to, that's a property right that a person has that can only be revoked for specific reasons. But we have a special use permit that has restrictions on it. There's this whole separate process for ensuring that those provisions are accomplished.
So we still can pull it out though, out of the regular license, just to hold it until next council meeting.
It's, yes, like I said though, it's gonna be inconsequential until there is a non-renewal or a revocation or suspension, because they can continue to operate until July
Right.
1, and even if it's still pending before this body, they will be able to continue to operate under their 18-19 license into July and beyond.
And if we okayed it tonight, is there any difference?
They'd be guaranteed, or at least they'd have a license until the end of June of 2020, but again, anytime during that license year, under the same standards for non-renewal, this body could also consider revocation. So, as far as the consequence of it, it's mostly symbolic.
Mr. Chair. So there's no incentive for any owner then to do what they said they're gonna do?
Except the special use permit.
The special use permit.
Okay.
And if that gets pulled, they can't operate.
Correct, because we're not in a position right now where we have an ordinance on the books that allows us to impose specific conditions upon specific licenses, but that is in the works. Once that's on the books, then that would be the way to address it under chapter 125, revocation and non-renewal, directly as an alcohol license. But until that's on the books, the only real strength and ability to enforce those special use permits is through essentially threatening the revocation of that permit.
All in,
So basically what you're doing is it's a symbolic thing saying,
Right,
hold
yeah,
on a
means-
second.
okay.
I move approval of item 51 with the exception of Sitco Sunrise West Alice, which I propose to hold.
Okay, do we?
Second.
Do we need an, okay, do we need an amendment on that, or we just,
That is the amendment. I included it in the motion.
So by pulling it, I take it that the clerk would have a separate assignment, assigned
Yes.
number for that item then at the next meeting.
Correct.
okay.
To be
So
approved
the
as
motion
amended.
is, the motion is for the amendment or for the amendment and the okay of all the license?
It would be this one, approved as amended.
Right.
The amendment is, I'm approving everything with the exception of that, so that the amendment goes with it.
All in one vote?
Yep.
Correct. Okay, so Haas made the motion, I'm sorry, May made the motion, Haas second. Is there any further discussion on any of the license? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion to adjourn?
Second, I'm so moved. First, second, third.
Should have said
We weren't
Should've
gonna
said
ask him
two
about,
of them.
we weren't
All in
gonna ask
favor?
him about the beer garden. Yeah, that's the other question.
Oh.
And it was the
I
exact
withdraw
same
my
point.
second.
It really is,
Yeah.
it really is the exact same point.
Okay.
It is the exact same point, is that the special use would be the way to, if he doesn't do what he it's the exact same point, looked at it from a different angle. For the beer garden.
He's talking about the hours again.
Yeah, yeah. One question did come up. In my conversations, the applicant stay open until 10 PM, but the public hearing, it said 9 PM. And I guess I don't know what the paperwork said. And we have an,
safety shoe footwear for public works employees, and this is adding
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 10, resolution to approve commercial facade improvement project contract by and between the City of West Allis and Father Jean's Health Center. Motion from Alderman Chapleski, second from Alderman May. Any discussion? And I'll refer to Patrick Schloss on that.
Yeah, we've seen some drawings on this before.
Yeah, and now why all of a sudden?
Bid on the work.
So did the bids come in too high?
I think you were evaluating the cost.
Yeah, there were a number of reasons, and one of them was, believe it or not, our beautiful weather in Wisconsin came upon us early, and at that time, our previous general contractor said he didn't want to do it because he needed 2 weeks of above 40-degree weather, which he didn't think we were going to get at that point. And then what happened is we thought we were going to be able to start sooner, and because of the late winter, the general contractor dropped us, and we now have a new general contractor, Mike Dufek, and we're back on task. Since that time, we've also added a number of new board members. The average age on our board was probably about 84 years old. We're now down probably in the 50 to 55 range. So we've got a number of things that we've been doing, including bringing on a new executive director. So we've got a lot of irons in the fire, but I guarantee you we're there for the next 50 years.
And you're celebrating 50 years.
This is our 50th year this year.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I guess I'd like to know if this is CDBG money?
Correct.
Patrick? And how much is the total project cost?
It's around 155,000.
So the property owners or tenants? Property owners are putting in half?
Yes.
Okay. I did speak to a neighboring business over the weekend at a la carte, and he was asking, and I don't think he's seen it, it's Julian Cagle. He was asking to see if there's any kind of art involved in this. I said, I don't think so. Art. Yeah, I don't think so. I think you guys are just trying to bring it up into the 21st, yeah, into the modern era. The post-war era. Post-war.
Larger in terms of our block grant, it's pretty much from
Yeah, it
block
is,
grant
yeah.
budget for facades, but it's also 2 facades because you have a major artery with National Avenue and a major artery with Greenfield, and the work also includes landscaping in the parking lot, new fencing and painting the rear of the building, as well as windows and architectural improvements to the front. And as the branding of the building would change with a new logo and new signage by Father Jean's Health Center.
Okay. And I'm just gonna bring up one more thing. It's unrelated to Father Jean's, but it's about that business model in general. I don't know if you have a problem with them, but I have a store in my district that routinely in the summer on Monday mornings, people dump their rummage sale leftovers. And I'm pretty sure you guys have you have good signage there about donation times.
Signage, and we've really decided not to put a box out because it becomes a dumping ground.
Yeah.
And we've had multiple board discussions. We have very few issues with dumping either in the front or in the back.
Yes, that's what I wanted to hear, because don't want to reward somebody who's not taking every step possible to solve that problem. So, okay, those were my questions. Thank you.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 11, resolution relative to accepting a proposal from Granicus.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion from Alderman Weigel, second from Alderman May. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 12, resolution amending the 2019 adopted budget for elections and
Move
city
approval.
clerk. Thank you.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I wonder how we missed this. Did they not send us invoices, or did we lose them, or what happened?
Perhaps they might have been sending them to someone that was no longer employed here via email.
Oh, an email was bouncing, or,
Interesting.
oh,
Okay.
That would be my guess.
okay. So we solved that, so we're not missing any others. There's no more surprises out there lurking in a,
Not on this.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 13, Finance Director Comptroller, submittal of OPEB valuation report. Motion to place on file.
Hold
We're gonna hold this for.
Yeah, we're talking for June, we're talking about
Monday
next,
night.
yeah.
Discussion of this item will occur at the June 10th
10th, yeah.
Administration and Finance
I think
Committee
it's worth
meeting.
some discussion, yes.
Very good, thank you. Let's hold this. Thank you, everybody. And then we have a closed session issue, item 14. For agenda item 14, the committee may convene in closed session pursuant to the provisions of Wisconsin statute section. Yep.
Is it okay if we do the other ones real quick, just to clean them up?
Did he turn clean?
You don't have to
Sure.
go
Plan
back
report,
and open.
16.
Sure. Let's go to items 16 through 25. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve as recommended by the city attorney.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Now, back to our item 14. For agenda item 14, the committee may convene in closed session pursuant to the provisions of Wisconsin statute section 19.85 1G for the purpose of conferring with the city attorney who will render oral or written advice concerning the strategy to be adopted with respect to litigation in which the city is likely to become involved.
So
The
moved.
committee may reconvene in open session for completion of closed session. Consider the balance of the agenda.
So moved. Closed session.
Motion and a second. Alderman Rote.
Aye.
Alderman May.
Aye.
Alderman Chapletsky.
Aye.
Alderman Weigel.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. All right, we're in closed session. So we have a. What?
You need a second, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Second.
Alderman Chukowski seconded. And any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And that's the last item that we have.
Will we adjourn?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Now we're going down for the Beyond Vision discussion.
Yeah, but drinking water like a fish. Well, he goes. That's not guaranteed.
We'll call the common council back to order. I'll ask our clerk to call the roll.
Alderman Reinke.
Here.
Rote. Here. Stefanski.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Barzak.
Here.
Shaplesky.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
And May.
Here.
That's 10 present.
Quorum is present. Alderman Haas, Administration and Finance.
Mayor Devine, the Administration and Finance Committee acted on the following items, but first was item 8, which was a joint referral with Administration and Finance and Public Works, which was adopted. Items 9 through 12 were all adopted. Item 14 was approved as amended, and the amendment was to go with the law firm Phipps Deacon Purnell, PLLC. Item 15 was placed on file, and items 16 through 21 were placed on file. 22 through 25 were denied. That is the Administration and Finance report. I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
Aye.
Shaplesky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
And May.
Aye.
That's 10 yeses.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor Devine.
Thank you, Alderman Haas. Next up, Public Works Committee, Alderman Barzak.
Mayor Devine. I'd like to bring your attention items number 26 through 29, which are resolutions that were adopted by all 5 members of the committee, and 29 was a communication that was placed on file by all 5 members of the committee. I move for adoption of the committee's report.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderperson Ranky. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Reinke.
Aye.
Rote. Stefanski.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
Aye.
Shaplesky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
And May.
Aye.
That's 10 yeses.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine, that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Safety and Development Committee, Alderman Lysick.
I refer you to items 30 through 34 on your agenda. Item 35, which was an ordinance passed as amended, based upon, that's one we had a hearing on this evening for the height of accessory buildings. We amended it to include the recommendations of the Planning Commission. Items 37 through 42 on your agenda. These are all various resolutions, communications, and ordinances acted upon favorably by all 5 members of the committee. I move for adoption of the committee report.
Second.
There is a motion with a second by Alderman Vitale. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
Aye.
Shaplesky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
And May.
Aye.
And that's 10 yeses.
Motion carries.
That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Chaplesky, License and Health Committee.
I'd like to report on items number 43 through 47, 49 through 51, 54 through 59, and 62 and 63 on tonight's agenda. These are various license and reports that were voted to place on file, approve subject to necessary requirements, or to approve by all 5 members. Number 51 as amended. I'd like to move for the adoption of this portion of the committee's report.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Rote. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Then we have number 48, this is a renewal. It was voted for approval by 4 members, with 1 member abstaining. I'd like to move for the remainder of the report.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman May. Is there any discussion on that item? That suspect venue. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Abstain.
Barzak.
Aye.
Chapletsky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
And May.
Aye.
That's 9 yeses and 1 abstention.
Motion carries. We do not have advisory this evening.
Mayor Devine.
No report.
Get the night off. Alderman Lysick.
I move that we adjourn until our next regularly scheduled meeting, Tuesday, June 18th at 7 PM.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderperson Reinke. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We are adjourned.